I'm reading from chapter 11 of The Wine Cellar, my latest book. Unless I choose to make another appointment by ringing Carmel, I realise I am now in danger of having nothing to look forward to again. My weekly visits were giving me a purpose, and it has taken Mr. Chrysler and his intimidation to make me realise I needed him, together with his qualifications and credentials. His reputation is second to none, and his clientele ranges from troubled celebrities to wealthy single women with more issues than a bankrupt politician. I'm not sure I can bear to feel lonely again. I don't want to be Lydia Richardson, rich, once respected, now forgotten. Clara's told me I need to continue the sessions, but I haven't told her that the cost of the therapy has been outdone by the expense of replenishing my decanters. She doesn't know the shrink has been making home visits, and I'm not sure she would approve. She has been a good friend to me over the years, but there are certain things I can't confide in her about, like my fantasy of being a permanent fixture in Mr. Chrysler's life. I've battled the last few years with the demons in my head, feeling the ultimate rejection as the man I thought loved me decided to commit adultery. I've often asked myself if it was made worse by the fact he has betrayed me with his secretary and not a floozy he picked up in a bar one night. But I know deep down it would have made no difference. Bernadette King received karma for what she did to me. She might strut around town in high heels, wearing too much makeup and looking like a whore, but she no longer has Michael. Perhaps she never truly had him. Started off as sex for them and ended in disaster. I want to move on, but the hatred I feel inside continues to eat away at me, nibbling a tiny morsel each and every day. I wanted to tell my shrink about my persistence of needing to put the past behind me, but that would mean completely opening up to him. My closed mind isn't ready to make such a drastic move forward. He might expect me to forgive what my husband did, and forget about Bernadette King, as she continues to flood my head with loathing. 3 weeks have passed since he came to my house. I've picked up the phone several times to dial his office number and make another appointment, but each time I go to do it, I clam up and wonder what I'm going to say to make him realise that I've finally admitted I need help. I don't want him to see a weak woman in his office, sat perched on the end of his chocolate leather sofa with a bottle of Highland Spring and a handbag filled with tissues. I want him to see Lydia, a confident and aspiring woman, sat behind her desk, filled with self-belief, cured. Clara keeps messaging me, asking me how I'm feeling. I decide to ignore her. She's becoming a nuisance, and I want to think that if I do see a professional again, it's because I made the decision to do so, not because she told me it was what I needed. But I worry. I worry that I'm missing Mr. Chrysler. I worry that I want to call him Alexander, and I want our relationship to become less formal. I don't want him to be my shrink anymore or assume he can help me. And I don't want to get into a relationship with him if it weakens my resolve and I end up back where I started, floating in my pool. I admire him. I've developed a level of respect for him, and that unnerves me. If I see him as my shrink again and start considering him to be the path to being cured, will I appear beneath him, figuratively speaking, allowing him to control my mind and making me feel intimidated? I can't allow that to happen. He was scared of being exposed after our first alternative therapy session in his office, and he knew I meant what I said. He would receive no more financial gain from me. The fact he closed my file on his patient list would have meant Carmel assumed he'd cured me. Though I imagine deep down she could see how impossible that would be. She obviously does, and she's told to. I doubt she has only ever been his secretary. She doesn't seem the type. I wouldn't put her in the same league as my ex-husband's secretary, however, but I would go as far to assume he'd introduced her to the comfort of his leather couch occasionally. The thought makes me shudder. I'm not sure if it's with jealousy or pleasure. I think about him in his white shirt and tie, a pair of black socks and a raging erection, instructing his secretary to bend over while he parts her legs with his knees before thrusting himself into her. I imagine her moaning with desire and him pulling her head back by her long golden hair, demanding that she address him as doctor. The thought turns me on and I feel myself becoming aroused. I decide to strip off and get in the pool. I have a bottle of Moët in the fridge and I fill the ice bucket with ice cubes, then place the bottle inside. I swim up and down for 10 minutes, naked and liberated, looking forward to sipping champagne in the jacuzzi as the bubbles nuzzle my body whilst I caress in between my legs. As I exit the pool by the steps, I hear the buzzer on the intercom at the electronic gates. I'm not expecting anyone, so I assume it's a delivery. But I don't remember ordering anything. I go to the TV monitor and press the button labelled Gates. I think my eyes are deceiving me as I see a black Bentayga parked outside my house and a tall man standing at the intercom. Butterflies take flight in my stomach as I feel the blood rush to my head. Why is Mr. Chrysley here, unannounced, wanting me to open up my home to him? I hurry to wrap myself in a white toweling robe, then rush into the hallway and press the intercom. He must know I can see him standing there, but I nervously ask who it is. Dr. Chrysler, comes the answer. May I come in? He sounds formal. I press the button to allow the gates to open and watch him get back into the Bentley before driving it through and parking next to the Porsche. He gets out, minus the briefcase, closes the door and hits the fob. He has worse paranoia than I do, I humour myself. I open the front door and look at him as he walks towards me. He looks me up and down, taking note of the bathrobe and the wet hair. I'm sorry. I have obviously disturbed you. His manners are intact as I close the door after him and we stand in the hallway, both a little awkward. Do you have company? He asks. No, I'm on my own. I just wanted to make sure you're okay. I thought you might have made another appointment. Why would I want to do that? I ask, still staring straight at him, aware that the bathrobe is slipping open. I think he's stuck for words. At first, I'm sure. You made it clear to me that you would only offer me your time in a professional capacity at your office. I took that to mean you didn't want to associate with me in a personal way anymore. He scratches his cheek and opens his mouth, running his tongue along his bottom row of teeth. I'm not sure you want my professional help anymore, Lydia, he says, and then smiles at me, that warm expression enveloping his face. I don't want it. You're quite right. He knows I don't mean that. He takes a step towards me and looks at the bathrobe. Then what do you want? He asks. I refuse to take my eyes from him, fearing just the slightest release would give him permission to intimidate me again. He puts his hand on the belt of my robe and starts to unfasten it. I continue watching him intently. He opens up the robe to see my nakedness, but doesn't touch me. For a few moments we stand facing each other in my hallway, my hair dripping wet, my nipples cold and aroused. Him obviously wondering if he can make the next move, or if he should let me do it. Eventually I turn my eyes away from his and look down at his hands that still rest on the belt of my robe. I take the belt from him and fasten the robe up, and turn around and start to walk towards the kitchen. He follows me, his heels clicking against the wooden floor. We go into the kitchen, then into the inner hallway that leads to the indoor pool and jacuzzi, and the Moët in its silver ice bucket. I stand at the jacuzzi and turn to face him. Then I untie the belt again and let the robe fall to the floor. His eyes roam my body, and I notice the bulge in his trousers once more, as visible as that first time I saw it in his office. I wondered if it was for me back then. Now I'm sure it is.